Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 256. Today we have Tony Guarnaccia, who has helped thousands of businesses survive crises. He has helped businesses navigate the uncertainties and emerge stronger on the other side. Hello, Tony.
Hi, thanks for having me here today.
Thank you for coming. I know the client is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my client a bit about your background, about what you did before you started your business?
Sure. So I grew up in small business when I was 12 years old. My parents had a bakery. Unfortunately, they didn't know what they didn't know about growing a business, even though they were phenomenal bakers, and they ended up closing the shop. And so at the age of 12 years old, found myself homeless, without a car, without the house, and we had to move into my oldest sister's basement, myself, my mother, and my father. So that kind of set the stage for kind of the rest of my life. So what I always wanted to do was go back into entrepreneurship and essentially redeem the past. So I did that. I went to college, learned business and studied entrepreneurship, left there, and then started an online bakery. So I went back to my bakery roots, and we had a good amount of success. We were able to take a cake, mail it anywhere in the United States, and have it arrive perfectly. And with that, we put a photo on the cake. So we were able to win awards. We won Best New Product at the New York Incentive Show, and ultimately had a great success with celebrity clients like Jennifer Lopez and Jay-Z. We were able to mail cakes to big companies like IBM and Microsoft. And what I discovered, however, was that I didn't know what I didn't know. And that business surprisingly failed. Even though we had everything going for us with PR and search engine optimization, great clients, great publicity, it still failed because there are certain things I missed. So I said to myself, what am I missing? Who does know how to grow a business very successfully? And that set the journey I had for about 10 years to work with some of the best companies in the world, like Google, ADP, Ford, a whole bunch of the best businesses in the world. And then I left there after that 10-year stint and started a marketing agency to help businesses learn what I learned working with some of these great companies.
Wow. What a background, Tony.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So what is the most dangerous belief an entrepreneur can have?
The most dangerous belief? That's a great question. Probably that you know everything you need to know. Because one thing I've always learned going just through this journey is that there's always something new to learn, and that the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. So it's so important to always be a student and finding mentorship and leadership that can help you get to the next level.
Okay, I know you mentioned your parents' business failed and then you managed to get it off the ground again and it failed again. But why do you do what you do?
Well, my mission is to democratize marketing, to really show businesses why they have success and why, more importantly, why they fail sometimes. Because sadly, at least in the United States, 50% of businesses fail within 10 years. And that number is probably much, much higher in reality. And so, especially in days like this with COVID. And so my mission is really to help other businesses not have to suffer that fate that I had to go through. So to help as many businesses become sustainable and grow. Because, when you have healthy businesses, it doesn't just affect the business owner. It affects their employees. It affects their community. It affects the world, really.
Let's put man aside. How do you know you're successful?
Well, successful, that's a great question. Everyone has their own definition of success. Mine is really, am I accomplishing what my purpose is? So to me, purpose and success are very much aligned. So if I'm accomplishing what I was created to do, then I think I'm having success, regardless of how much money's in the bank or anything like that. It really comes down to who you are and what you want to achieve, because that's where people really have they have satisfaction. They have a sense of accomplishment.
But Tony, can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
I would say some people are more cut out than others because a lot of it has to do with your mindset. And so you have to have a certain level of risk tolerance. You have to have a whole lot of resiliency, which is what I'm talking about a lot right now, because the fact is you are going to fail. That's just the way it is. And so you have to be able to become resilient and bounce back from those failures, and not just bounce back, but learn from them and improve so that the next go around you do it better.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
There's so many things I've learned, but I would say probably the most important thing is the relationships you have. That's probably been one of the biggest differentiators and difference makers, because the people you surround yourself with is ultimately going to decide how far you go, because they're such an influence on you. They can help you and you can help them. So I would say that the key thing is having solid relationships that you can grow.
Tell us, for many businesses, resources of time, effort, and money are tight right now. What can a business do to grow if this is their reality?
Yeah, I think we all have some level of constraints, no matter how much we have. I mean, I'm sure even Jeff Bezos sees constraints in some areas. So the key is really the decisions you make. And what I found is where you are today is the result of the decisions you had made in the past. And so really the decisions come down to how you allocate your resources of time, effort, and money. And so what you want to do is prioritize your time, effort, and money given the circumstances and what you want to accomplish. So in some cases, you want to focus more on your time and maybe you spend more money because it's going to get you there faster. In other circumstances, you have to focus on conserving your money. Maybe cash is tight, money isn't coming as much. You might have to prioritize your money, and that means you have to put more effort in. And really, those three areas are really so important, because that formula of how you mix them and more importantly, what you're working on is going to determine where you get, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Why is your mission to democratize marketing relevant right now?
Well, I don't think it's ever been more important because there's so much uncertainty today, and there's a lot of challenges. Even aside from the pandemic, there's a lot of issues that are impacting every business, and really they come down to three areas. Number one, the whole change in what I call the marketing revolution, which is the first area, is that with the marketing revolution, you have a lot more clutter today. So years ago, it was very simple. You could place an ad in a newspaper, you could place an ad in a radio, and you'd get some business. Then all of a sudden, nowadays, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of places that you could appear. You could be in social media. You could be on, within social media alone, you could be in Facebook, you could be in Instagram. There's so many places that you could appear. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is once you find a channel, a marketing channel that works for you, then within that channel, there's a lot of clutter. So problem number two is, how do you stand out from your competition? And not just the competition, but also you're competing for eyeballs. So nowadays, when someone's on their phone, because that's where most people are consuming information, you're not just competing for attention from your competitors, you're competing with Disney and Amazon and YouTube and all these really high quality, highly invested companies. And then the third problem, once you get through those, is technology. So now that you're through the clutter and the fragmentation, how do you actually have the technical expertise to help with that? And so that is why it's important to democratize marketing, because with those three challenges, usually it's just the very well-funded companies that have the resources to handle the challenge of marketing. And so my mission is to help bring those strategies, tools, and tactics and resources that the large companies have to the average business.
Can really someone start something right now? Is there an opportunity right now? Because everyone is thinking, oh, everyone is staying at home, nothing is happening. Do you think someone can start something right now?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's ever been a better time to start a business, because a lot of times when things are down, that's when some of the greatest companies were founded historically. And so now is a great time. And, it's not a great time just to start a business, but also change your existing business. So if you're struggling today, you might want to think of how do you adapt to the new environment, meaning, there is a lot more virtual work being done. Certain channels like podcasting are really taking off, virtual summits, things like that. So it's really looking at where is the opportunity, because I believe there's always opportunity. Money is always out there. But where is it flowing to? You want to be where it's flowing to. And historically, where I've had the greatest success is when I rode the wave that was happening. It's so much easier to ride the wave as opposed to create your own wave. And so what do I mean by that is I rode the wave when search engine optimization was really big, 20 years ago. Then I rode, the AdWords wave, and then the social media wave. And now the big wave is everything's going virtual. So, as a business owner or someone wanting to start a business, I'd be thinking, how do I capitalize on this new change? Because change always brings opportunity if you look at it that way.
Tell us, what skills should we train instead of hiring at this time?
Yeah. So what you want to do is really look at where are you out. This goes back to the resource question, but where can you most effectively leverage your time, effort, and money? And so you want to outsource the things that you're A, not great at, and B, that, aren't effective use of your time. Other things that are core to your business that are, really that you're good at and you enjoy doing, those are the things you should focus on, because that's where you're going to get the growth. And so you always want to be prioritizing on that paradigm of, time, effort, and money, the things that, again, you don't like and you're not good at and that other people are just way better at. You should either outsource that, or the way to make the decision whether you outsource it or hire somebody is this something that would have to be done again and again? So if it's a one-time thing, for instance, you have to build a website. If you don't know how to build a website, you're not good at website building, you don't want to get into that, that's a great thing to outsource. But if it's something like updating your website where it has to be done every month, then that might be perhaps someone you hire. So that's really how you decide between A, you doing it, B, you outsourcing it, or C, you hiring someone internally.
What tips would you give for people out there who are going back to workforce, or some of them who are working from home? What tips can you tell them?
For remote work, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so for remote work, one of the most important things you want to make sure you do is communicate more. And so communication becomes much more important because you don't have that face-to-face contact. So what you want to do is do it more frequently throughout the day. You want to make sure you really are clear in your communication. So ideally have an agenda, what you're going to talk about, adhere to that agenda during the meetings. And also have one-off conversations with your employees if you have any employees. You want to talk to them individually, understand where they're at, and then you might want to increase not just the frequency you communicate during the day, but also during the week. So, for instance, I have what some of the meetings I used to do weekly, I'm now doing daily, just to increase that communication.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is really what I mentioned before, riding the wave. So I think I've always been good at identifying trends that were going to happen. So for instance, I went to remote work 6 months before the pandemic hit. So we were already doing this. So we were well prepared for this kind of environment. And I wasn't doing it obviously because I saw the pandemic happening, but I saw a general move to more remote work because the technology was getting so much better. And so the same thing happened back with search engine optimization. I was doing search engine optimization in the late 90s. And so one of the best things you can do is look at where, as Wayne Gretzky said, the famous hockey player, you want to look at where the puck's going and then, position yourself to be there in advance. That's probably the best thing you can do, because even if you're not great at running a business, if you're in an industry that's going up, you'll still have success just by the virtue of all the momentum in that area.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
Most people don't know. I used to be a professional violinist. And so I played, that's how I met my wife. And it's been so many great relationships through that, but it's also taught me a lot of business lessons. So one of the things I learned from that is the importance of slowing down to speed up. And so when I played the violin, when I was in conservatory, I used to always try to rush through the difficult passages and just get to the nice melodies. And what I learned from my teacher is that you want to break it down note by note and really understand what you're doing. And then that will enable you to play much better, faster, and just with more clarity. And it's the same thing with the business. So if you want to accelerate your growth, a lot of times it makes sense to slow down, plan out what you want to actually do, and then you'll have much more a higher likelihood of success.
Wow. When you started your own business, how long did it take you to pay yourself a salary?
Pay myself a salary? Well, I started my business doing freelance. So I started doing business on the side. So I was prepared to go full time without a lot of interruption. And so I had it before I really started the business officially. And I think that's a wise way to start. So you don't want to jump into something where you have no reserve and you don't have any consistent revenue, because that's the other thing. You want to have some kind of consistency in your revenue, ideally recurring revenue that comes in every single month. And so before I even started, before I left my job, I started freelance, doing it on the side, built up a reservoir of clients, a reservoir of money, and then I left. And that's the best way to start, because then you have a lot less stress.
Thank you for sharing. What grounds you?
What grounds me? Probably my faith. I have a strong faith in God. That would be number one. Number two would probably be my wife. She keeps me on track and keeps me honest. And then probably the third thing would be my kids. So they make sure I don't take myself too seriously.
Do you have mentors and coaches in your business?
Yes, of course. So I have several. I have one mentor that focuses on more of the spiritual side and just my relationship with God. My other mentor focuses more on the business side and how to improve myself as a leader and a coach and all the different aspects of business. And then I also have, people that I get advice from on specific areas, whether it's how to do a PR strategy, how to do joint ventures, industry experts in certain areas I can call on when I need advice on a specific topic.
What is the most valuable thing your mentors and coaches has told you?
I would say one of the most important things is really starting the day off right. And so, when I start my day, I always, I read from the Bible, I'll meditate, I'll, think about positive things and how that relates to me, just with gratitude, really starting with the right mindset. So I think when you start with the right mindset, everything flows much better. And so having a strong start to the day is really important, because especially in entrepreneurship, your mindset is really everything. Because if you don't have enough purpose, you'll quit. But also if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to be very resilient either.
What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
Most valuable thing I've ever given away. That's a great question. I don't think I've had that one before. Let's see. Most valuable thing I've ever given away. I've given away. Some of my violins were pretty valuable. I've given those away. But when I was a kid, this goes back to my story. When I was really struggling to make ends meet, when we lost everything, some of the things I sold were my most dear possessions. I sold my Star Wars toys, my He-Man figures, which were toys just to survive. I sold those. But then around the same time, I gave away my baseball collection for free to my nieces and nephews. So that's probably, from a monetary perspective, the most valuable thing I had. Plus, it was something I loved, because I used to love growing up. I used to collect all the baseball cards, and they were quite valuable. I had some of the really old ones. So that was probably the most valuable thing that I ever gave away.
Can't you now reclaim them? You tell them, well, it is worth, man, let me pay and bring them back.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had them back now. They're probably worth a lot more. But yeah, it was good. Hopefully they had a lot of joy with them. And, I think when you give, you receive. So it's always important to have a giving nature anyway, because that's, how you then receive back.
Let's talk about your business, Result Club. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so Results Club came from really the idea that I mentioned before about democratizing marketing. So a lot of businesses struggle in certain areas where they don't know what they don't know. And that was always one of the challenges I had. So when I had failures, a lot of times it was just because there was a gap in my knowledge. So my mission with Results Club is to close those gaps. And that's where I focus more on the sales and marketing and areas that help grow a business. But I'm also going to have guests that come in where, you can they'll teach legal issues, HR, IT, a variety of sources so that every business can have the resources and the tools and tactics that they might be missing. And so it's a recurring membership. We meet every single month, usually several times a month. And it's a great thing. I wish I had it. It was really came from the idea that I wish I had this when I was starting out. So that's what it is.
What kind of people can join this Result Club?
Yeah, any kind of business, because what we're trying to do is make it holistic. And then in some areas, we'll have the opportunity to break out into specific industries. So for instance, we might have a retail industry breakout session. We might have industry sessions for, I used to do a lot in automotive, so we might have an automotive one. There could also be one for e-commerce. So it's different areas. But for the most part, we're going to look at the commonalities, because I think you can learn a lot by looking at businesses that are not in your industry, because I think that's where real innovation comes. So we purposely kind of intermix different businesses at different stages and different levels of expertise.
And where can we find this Result Club, and how can we connect with you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I appreciate that. So if you want to learn more about it, you just go to resultsclub.org. And we have a special promo code that we have where typically the Results Club is $97 a month. But for your audience, it'll just be $1 for the first month.
Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
So, Clan, there will be more from Tony in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcasting platforms rather than my website and you're encouraged by Tony's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of the interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan, and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part of Tony's journey or over 200 plus other journeys that are available, and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Tony.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.